Sure. So that Kiwi crew really could be pushing this Husky boat down the race course. We'll see if the Huskies can come back with another win in the Windermere Cup. But Indiana University as well coming across from the Big Ten. Indiana, one of these, they're in their region as they go into the championship races, the Big Ten championships. They rank by region. The varsity for Indiana is the 3rd seed in the region going into the Big Ten. So very strong varsity 8 here for Coach Steve Peterson and the Hoosiers. They've had some good talented Kiwis as well coming over for the team from Indiana. So we've got some Kiwis in all three of these boats today. So got a good flavor from New Zealand here. And Mary, New Zealand, like we were talking before the races here, just in terms of quality of rowing from any individual country on the international rowing, it's tough to beat the quality when it comes to New Zealand rowing.
Yeah, I mean, from such a small country, the amount of money they put into their pipeline and their development, it's on par, if not more, than U.S. rowing. Sad to say, but it's true. So they take it seriously, obviously, but I think it's just the professionalism and the program that they've designed. Everybody knows where to go next and what is expected of them. So yeah, it's and really high quality at all levels, down to the junior level of rowing. That's why so many of the American teams, the U.S. universities, go and recruit in New Zealand for athletes, both on the men's side and the women's side. A lot of assistant coaches spend weeks down there finding good recruits, and it certainly pays off for a lot of these teams. So the history of rowing in New Zealand is outstanding. The history of rowing at Washington is outstanding as well. We've got 3 great crews here for the Women's Windermere Cup. The final race of the day. Folks, if you're lining the race course, stay for the cruise parading back through and then the yacht parade following that. So we're excited to watch these races here. This is a great shot of why this is such a great race. It's one of the biggest free events. Windermere is sponsoring it, the Windermere Real Estate Company, and you saw the shot of everybody lining up at the bridge. And here is the top of your screen is the Huskies. They're going to be in lane 1. In the middle of the race course, it's going to be Indiana in lane 2, and the New Zealand team is going to be in lane 3, which is going to be at the bottom of the screen.
So Izzy Michelson, your coxswain, freshman for Washington. Lily Gnert is the coxswain for Indiana. And Annabelle Scott for New Zealand. So celebration at the boathouse last night for former head coach Bob Ernst. Bob got one of the plaques for the legendary coaches set in the Conibear Shell House, but Bob's coxswain's meetings were also legendary, and he honestly always referred to this as a coxswain's race. Mary, you were one of those coxswains that had the pressure on you. What's the pressure on the coxswain at the Windermere Cup?
Well, they said it runs. Well, the centers are being 2 to 3 minutes. You have to be on time. And back in the day, we didn't have this gorgeous starting dock platform. So it was basically, it could be a 2,000-meter race or it could be a 1,900-meter race, depending on if we were on our game of just being at the right place, right time. And Bob Burns always loved to call coxswains test pilots.
Yep.
And middle management. They're middle management because, when the coach shoves this team out on the water, the coxswain is in charge.
Yep, and so Izzy's got some pressure on her today, but doing a great job for the Huskies there as a freshman coxswain there. Megan Lee and Sally Jones, your stroke seats. We've got to start. Expect to see some good racing here. See if the Huskies, they've taken seats already early on. A ton of power coming from that Husky crew.
Yes, the last couple of weeks they have been working on their front end speed. This is the second race for Izzy Michelson in the varsity 8, the coxswain, the freshman coxswain. Last week at Cal, that was her first debut, and she just took the reins and she is charging hard and telling her crew how many strokes to keep high, meaning high strokes around 48, which is crazy, adrenaline fueled. And then they'll take a middle shift, so something around 40, 42, until they make their stride, which is probably a goal of about 36, 37. But today's adrenaline, it could be as high as 38. And then it's their job is to calm, let the boat go. But yeah, left hand under your screen, it is the Huskies out of lane 1. Middle of the screen is Indiana. And the right-hand side in lane number 3 is New Zealand.
So we've got a pretty strong race here. Huskies separating out just a little bit, but Indiana ahead of New Zealand. Coach Peterson's got to be pretty psyched seeing that, but he's got his 3 Kiwis on board there. The 7-seat, 6-seat, and 2-seat Kiwis. Nico Daly, Madison Shanks, and Laura McCabe there are the Kiwis for the crew from Indiana. They'll see if they can take on their country mates. Annabelle Ortel is your stroke seat. The transfer from Cal, from Berlin, is doing a great job there for the Hoosiers. Phoebe Inall, Abby Armstrong, Lily Murphy, and Grace Sappington from Sammamish. Road at Sammamish is a graduate student there in biotechnology from for the team from Indiana, 5th-year racer. She was the one that talked to her teammates about be prepared for anything at the Windermere Cup. So good to see a local connection there in that Indiana varsity boat.
So this is now the second 500 of that race course. The Huskies are increasing their lead. The last time the Huskies raced Indiana, there was about an 8-second difference. And so I know Indiana, they came here and their goal was to close the gap. And so this is going to be a great race between New Zealand and Indiana because both crews are going to use each other to see if they can reel in the Huskies.
Yeah, 3-boat racing does change the mentality from the 2-boat race like we saw in the men's side. You got, when you're that second place crew, you're maybe trailing that leader, you've got someone else to work off of, kind of an asset to really putting down maybe a little bit faster time. We've got just a little puff of tailwind, but great conditions here on the Montlake Cut race course. Washington open water up ahead of New Zealand now in second. New Zealand's made a strong move in the second 500 to take that solid second place position from Indiana. Indiana seeing what they can put together in the middle 1,000 now.
Yeah, Indiana went out hard because I think they had that mentality of like, let's close the gap. But now you can see the different rates of striking, the stroke rate. Indiana just kind of, I mean, they don't have a couple beats lower, but just the attack and the quickness of the drive, it's just they took a breath, so to speak, and New Zealand didn't. So now that was a huge slingshot. I think Indiana slowed down. Kiwis did not. And now they're trying to make sure that that open water does not increase between them and the Huskies.
Well, we talked about that experienced racers for New Zealand. Elena Sherman, that stroke seat that's raced at the Olympic level. Isla Blake in behind her. Ella Kossel, your Husky alum, backing them up. Rebecca Lee, Isabel Melville, a future Husky in 4-seat. Hannah Mata here in 3. Juliette Leque in 2, and Sophie Agnott Johnson there in the bow for New Zealand. But there's the Huskies in the Title IX legacy shell, really running away now, looking very strong here for Washington.
So I was talking with the coxswain, Izzy Michelson of UW, and I was saying, okay, if you want more seats, how and when are you going to unify your team? How are you going to offer them a solution? So I'm curious to see if they've just been kind of sitting that 1 to 2 seats of open water over the Kiwis. How are you going to break out more? Because, I mean, sometimes it's like, how dare you think you're just going to walk away from the Kiwis? What are you going to do to unite your power? So 8 individual impulses really unite into one. And that's going to be their secret of if they're going to increase the distance between the Kiwis, can they make sure that they just stay united in the water and stay united with that push?
Yep, and the Huskies about 37 strokes per minute here into the final 500 meters here. Washington really, really strong. I like what you see with the sharp technical blade work coming from the Huskies. Megan Lee and Sally Jones, your stroke pair. Mary Lou Duvernay Tardif, the 6th seat. Aisha Rocek, your Italian 5-seat. Zola Kemp, Killian Mullen, Chloe Shepard, and Sophie Houston holding down the bow for the Dogs. Really strong aggressiveness through the finish line here for the Washington women.
Yeah, they need to sit up a little taller at that catch. They're kind of getting a little bouncy with that water, but they just, they're still in the lead. I'm being picky. They're still winning, but you just see Izzy just being a little bit too excited, banging the sides. Sometimes coxswains think they have to do that because it's going to be so loud, but Just turn the volume up. Turn
Crank
the volume up
crank
to
it
an 11.
There we go. So here's Izzy and the Huskies really running away from New Zealand now. New Zealand in a solid position ahead of that crew from Indiana. So Washington on the open water lead, a couple of seats open here ahead of New Zealand. Washington really strong here. Last 100 meters here for Washington in the Women's Windermere Cup.
They are definitely finding their how and their why, creating their boat identity, and that's what's going to give them another gear as they go into their regional championships. And ultimately, the ultimate prize after the Windermere Cup is the NCAA Championship.
And there it is, Washington walking away with the Windermere Cup for both the men and the women over Team New Zealand. Indiana coming in third for the Windermere Cup for the women. So great racing all around. What a fantastic day it's been on the water here on a chillier than we'd like opening day, but still fantastic to have so many fans, so many supporters out here for Husky Crew. It's just fantastic to see such good racing all the way from the Masters races to start things off all the way through the Windermere Cups.
And unofficially checking out the time of 6:09.9. That's not slow.
No, that's pretty quick here. I think the Huskies really are dialing it in for the championship portion of the season, which is just a couple weeks away for Washington.